Hey, welcome everybody. It's a little after 10 o'clock, and after a little bit of craziness, we're going to get started with the prior Friars, an event that was scheduled for earlier in the year, and because of COVID was canceled, but now rescheduled as a virtual event. So welcome to Shepherd of the Valley Prior Friars. We will be together until about 11:30, and if you have a microphone on right now, you can mute your microphone and will not be disrupted by that for the first time for the first hour or so. We'll have opportunity for people to add comments after a little bit, and so a few pieces maybe about the day or our time together. I'll be introducing the pastors who are with us today, and hopefully even a couple more pastors are coming in. Let me see, right there, smack dab in the middle is Chris Stubing. He will not be with us today. He's a pastor up on the north side of St. Paul in a redevelopment. Is it Family of Christ that he's at? I can't remember the name of the church. But
Who's that Christ's servant, Randy?
Yeah, there you go.
In Venice Heights.
Yeah. And so right now, the pastors who are on have an opportunity to have their microphones on, and they can participate a little bit here. So your pastors are who are with you today will answer two questions to start with and do an introductory piece with one another. Just you can see their current faces from the locations where they're at. Oh my gosh, what a fun crew we've had through all the years. Very fun-loving group, right, Chris? He's reflecting on the staff that he had at that time, or this angelic-looking group of pastors at one time that we had at Shepherd of the Valley. But as we get going, let's do a quick introduction from everybody. Oh, I love the picture here. Is that John Mahekwa?
So
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the year was 1981. Paul, can you remember that far back?
Barely.
Yeah, does it seem like it was yesterday?
And in some ways it does. It's a funny thing.
Oh my gosh.
Very close.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Paul, here's your picture that's hanging in the hallway right now. And, hundreds and thousands of people have no idea who this guy is. And yet many of us gathered today are so thankful for the years of ministry that you have contributed to the life of Shepherd of the Valley. You and Margaret, and you're well known for sermons and prayers and all kinds of pieces you're carrying. And so here we got to turn this off. And Paul, can you just introduce yourself a little bit so maybe people can see your face as you talk? You should come up for people in their screen if they don't see you. And when did you serve? And briefly, where are you at right now? So just a short introduction.
Okay. We came to Apple Valley in November of 1980 under the auspices of the American Lutheran Church to found a new congregation in the greater Apple Valley area. I served as senior pastor until December of 2007 when I became pastor emeritus, and Pastor Chris took over at that point. And then I remained on the staff on a very part-time basis until July of 2013 when I finally retired. Is that short enough?
Yeah. God, that's fantastic. And where are you coming from right now today?
We are at home. We have joined the COVID club. I'm sorry to say. Margaret has it, but has no idea got it. But she's doing fine so far.
Okay. And you're doing well too.
Yep.
Thanks, Paul. Let's see. We also have Dwayne with us. Dwayne, where are you at? Give us a quick update. Oh, and Phyllis is in the picture too there.
Yep. Phyllis is here, right to my right. And we are at our house in Apple Valley. So, and a little bit of background for me, how I got started at Shepherd of the Valley was I was in my final year of seminary, 1992, and I had just finished the internship, and I got a call from Chris Ireland. And I was looking for a place to go part-time, and they were looking for a director of Christian education. So I came on part-time for 1 year at Shepherd of the Valley as director of Christian education, 92, 93. And I graduated from seminary in the spring of 93. And I was looking for a call, and Shepherd of the Valley just happened to be looking for a pastor. And I said, I'm available. And so they called me as pastor in 1993, August in 93. And I was there in my first call all the way till I retired, which was last summer, 2019. Very
fun. And you're in Apple Valley in your home right now.
Yes.
Where you're coming from right now today. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let me see. This is the order that I'm going to be going in a little bit later too. And Mary, where are you at?
I'm right here, and I'm home in Rosemount, and sitting in the living room. And Chris is upstairs in the office. And we came to Shepherd of the Valley in 1997. And I was quarter time when I first started at Shepherd of the Valley, because I was also working at the Minneapolis area synod as assistant to the bishop in candidacy. And then I think it was in 2000, I left the synod office and started half-time or part-time at Shepherd of the Valley, and continued that until we left in 2015.
Chris Smith.
What she said. Pretty much, actually. I had served as a solo pastor for 4 years before coming to Shepherd of the Valley. I began serving in 93, the same year that Dwayne began serving at Shepherd of the Valley, because Dwayne was at seminary when I was, but Dwayne took a little longer to get through. Isn't that right, Dwayne?
That's right. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because you were part-time in seminary and I was full-time. So
correct.
And we knew each other at seminary, so it was kind of fun to come to the call committee interview and have Dwayne in the room. That was really fun for Mary and me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and we served from 97 to 2015, as Mary said.
Very fun. Glad to have you guys in the conversation today. See, Pastor Bonnie, have you come on yet? She's
sure.
Hey.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, everybody. So good to be with you. I joined Shepherd of the Valley in 1985 and welcomed our daughter in 1986. And then in 93, well, with Chris Ireland's help in about 1990, I talked to Chris Ireland one day about maybe God was calling me to be a pastor. And Chris Ireland's response was, of course. And so I started seminary in 93, and when I graduated in 97, I was able to join the staff at Shepherd of the Valley. And I stayed until 2005 when I went to St. Paul, and I serve now at First Lutheran Church in Columbia Heights, and today I'm at home in Apple Valley.
Fantastic. And finally, thank you, Bonnie. Diane is with us now. So Diane, unmute your mic and do a short introduction of when did you serve and where are you now?
Awesome. Oh. Good morning. It's so great to see all your faces. Yeah, I started at Shepherd of the Valley in 2007. And before that, I was at Westwood Lutheran in St. Louis Park for a few years. And my first call was in Iowa. So actually, as I listened to you guys, I had more experience under my belt than most of you. Just kidding. But I am now at Faith Lutheran in Rosemount, just on Cedar Avenue. It's not really Rosemount, but it's a long explanation. So it's actually Lakeville, and it's been fun to be there, but I certainly do miss my colleagues and the ministry at Shepherd of the Valley as well. So it's great to be here.
Very fun. Let's really kind of get an official kickoff with a prayer, everyone. The Lord be with you.
And
Also with you.
Let us pray. Oh God, we give you thanks as we are able to connect with one another, even from our distant and separated physically. We are grateful that we can be together as a community and to be able to connect with some of the staff from Shepherd of the Valley years. And we thank you, oh God, for how you knit a community of faith together with all of the different members and volunteers and staff people. And today we want to reflect and remember, celebrate with hearts of thanksgiving, and we will give you grateful praise, oh God, for this time that we have together. Amen.
amen.
Okay, I have my timer ready here because Pastor Paul, you're going to be the first one. And this is the opportunity to share some stories. Pastor Paul, do you know how to tell a few stories? So
I'll give him
sarcasm doesn't go very far here. But Paul, you have 5 minutes. Share a few memories of your time in serving at Shepherd of the Valley. And I'll say, if you come close to 5 minutes, I'll say, Paul, you got 20 seconds here. And
Yep.
I'll cut this off because this is not supposed to have the semblance of a presidential debate.
Okay.
No
Got it.
talking over one another. No going over.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, first of all, greetings to everybody. Don't you wish we could do this in person? I mean, this COVID stuff is getting a little tiring, but we have to stay the course and follow the protocols. But wherever you are, good morning, and I hope that you are staying well and safe. And let me say thank you for whoever you are, all your years of service and faithfulness and goodwill to Shepherd of the Valley. You will never know perhaps how much that means to the pastoral staff. I made a few notes here because memory doesn't work as well as always, but thinking back about great memories, I always think, of course, of Christmas Eve and how sad that that's not going to happen this year. That is going to be really weird. I was talking to Pastor Rick the other day. He said, maybe we'll stand out in the parking lot and sing Silent Night, Holy Night or something, which is the way the first Christmas took place, and wait for some angelic visitation. But at any rate, I always think Christmas Eve, even after 9 services, it still had a magical quality. A couple of days ago, one of my granddaughters out in Seattle, who's quite a accomplished pianist, was playing some hymns for us. And the first one she played was O Holy Night. And of course, I thought of Mark Thompson and others. And then she played Bring the Torch, Jeanette Isabella. And of course, I thought of Kevin Casey and Jesse and others who've played and sung that music over the years so beautifully. I think of home visits. In the early part of the ministry, I made usually 3 to 4 home visits a week. And there's just great memories. It was such a wonderful way to get to know people. And I really cherish those memories and those relationships, even to this very day. Believe it or not, I also enjoyed work bees. It was so fun to work shoulder to shoulder with people. We were dressed in our old clothes, doing some good work, creating some sweat equity of the church and also ownership. I will never forget after we painted the Great Hall one Saturday, 2 coats. Gene Osted, you led that program, that project. I think we put on 55 gallons of paint in one day. And the next morning, everybody was standing around showing their families with pride of ownership the work they had done the day before. Those are great memories. I also think of all the breakfasts and lunches and coffees I've had in restaurants over the years with members of the church. Just a great way to sit down. And I miss that. I still miss that, and probably always will to some degree. Believe it or not, even the garage sales is a great memory. And I'll tell you one quick story. I'll never forget this. I was walking down the hall one day and this woman came up and she had tears in her eyes. And she told me she was a solo mother. Remember, this was in, what was it, in August when we had it? I forget, June or sometime summer month. And she said, I'm shopping for my children for Christmas. And she said, I want to thank you that you do not overprice your toys. And I thought, and what I should have said, I wish I had said, now, lady, just take it out to your card. Don't even bother to pay for it. But those kinds of memories just have a way of staying with you. I remember early on, for those of you who may remember, we did a live nativity scene at the farm of Pat and Ann O'Boyle, and some of the charter members will remember that for sure, how much fun that was to be out there with the live animals and all the kids dressed up in all the Christmas costumes or Christmas story costumes. And then a couple of funny, there was a couple that came to church a number of Sundays with live ferrets. I'm not kidding you. And you remember that, some of you, they had live ferrets sitting on their shoulders. And finally, I mean, I thought the kids loved it, but I thought the ferret's going to bite some kid and we're going to have a lawsuit. So I wrote them a letter and told them, you're welcome here, but leave your ferrets at home. We never saw them again, but they were convinced that those ferrets were their children. That's a whole nother story. Another story, did a funeral. We drove in with a white funeral home. We drove into Fort Snelling and we were about 100 yards inside the gate and the hearse died. The hearse died. And we had to carry the casket about a block and a half to the gravesite. That was a memory that's hard to forget.
30 seconds, Paul.
Time?
Half a minute. Go.
Okay.
Keep going.
Had a time the funeral director slipped and fell into the grave, into the hole. I called him the mortified mortician. That's a true story. Also one where, believe it or not, the undertaker, we got out to Fort Snelling and she had forgotten the cremains back at the church. If you ever seen a hearse lay rubber, I saw it that day. So, anyway, one more, a confirmand who wrote his paper about how Jesus healed the 10 leopards, not leopard, leopard. So we had about a half an hour Bible study right after that. Yeah, that was it. That little boy who couldn't say his P's, instead of calling me Pastor Paul, he called me basketball. And other than that, the other kid asked me, what is emeritus?
Okay, Paul. Okay. We're going to come back to you.
Yeah, thank you.
First of all, we're going to hear from Pastor Dwayne. There's your picture in the hallway, Dwayne. And people, how many of you remember this version of Pastor Dwayne? This version. There are so many pictures of you, Dwayne, that we could get some money out of you somehow. But hey, let's welcome Pastor Dwayne and just tell us a little bit about your memories from Shepherd of the Valley years.
Sure. Well, thanks, Randy, and I'm glad you clarified that those were pictures of me. A lot of people probably thought they were, of course, Brad Pitt, but especially the one with the tux, right? That was, by the way, the picture of the one when I had the tux on. That was what was called the Omars. We did
Omar
that for a few
Sharif.
years. Omar Sharif, yeah. But we called that the Omars because Omar Reyes, who does the videotaping now at Shepherd of the Valley, had done such a good job for a couple of years. We would give out prizes every year. We call it the Omars, and we dressed up for that as staff and had just a lot of fun with that. That's what those pictures are about. But my favorite memory, I would say my favorite memory at Shepherd of the Valley would be musicals. I love to do musicals and did actually I counted up, actually over the course of the years at Shepherd of the Valley, I was involved with 17 musicals.
Oh, wow. 17
musicals in one way or another. And then I did musicals at St. Andrews when I was there before I came to Shepherd of the Valley. And so altogether, I was involved in 38 musicals. I was involved in 21 musicals there. So that really was a huge part of my ministry over the years. And what I remember, especially at Shepherd of the Valley with the musicals, is the very first one. Of course, a lot of times the first one is what you remember, right? But this first one was a musical with fifth graders called Oh Jonah. And there was just a very talented group of fifth graders. Jessica Casey was in there. Chris Gleim was the one I remember. He played the part of Jonah. and he was extraordinarily talented. Even as a fifth grader, you could see that this guy was going to go places. And he has, by the way, he's become a professional actor. He now does every year the Rockettes. With the Rockettes, he does stuff in New York City. And he's been acting. He's probably about 40 years old now, or mid-30s, something like that. But doing those musicals was just so fun. I remember working with Bev Gustafson and all the musicians on that, Mark Ertl in the later years here. And the last musical I did was one of my favorites too, where we did the musical on Martin Luther in 2017. I always wanted to do something on Luther on the 500th anniversary of him nailing the 95 Theses on the Wittenberg church door, and we were able to do it in the fall of 2017. But I always thought musicals did so many things that help these kids to feel just a part of the church, in a real active kind of way. It developed their talent. You'd build relationships. A lot of times the musicals had something to do with the Bible or some facet of our Christian faith that was a good learning experience for them. And it helped them to connect to the church, really in a profound way, I always thought. And a musical is a collaboration event. And I always like that part of it as well. So that's my favorite memory. I mean, I've got a lot of other ones, of course, but I just want to focus on that one. I mean, preaching was always great. Doing Bible studies, being with the staff and just being with people. That's a great part of ministry, of course. But the musicals, I'd have to say, would be my number one.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. And let's go back to the share screen because we also, Pastor Bonnie, this is just from a few years ago, I think. And let's see, what do I have for you? Oh, the younger, is this with your family, your ordination? And we have a picture of you just filled with the Holy Spirit fire, it looks like. Yep. And you helped us with some leadership in our first connections with Tanzania, I believe. Bonnie, do you remember when this was?
Peter Harriet's wedding to Jenny.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but Bonnie, so glad that you're with us today. Share with us when you some memories from your ministry.
Well, it's good to see all these amazing faces and to see all of you today. Thanks for inviting me. The first thing I have to thank you for is helping me raise my daughter. We had some tragedy in my family, and I think it was about 5 or 6 years after my brother's death that she said to me one day, she said, "We had friends who drove all the way from Apple Valley to Iowa for that funeral." I said, "Yeah, that was a big deal." Because they turned around and went back, didn't they? And I said, "Yeah, they did." And from you, she learned faith and she learned how to show up. She learned how to show up. And so thank you for helping me raise my daughter. And she is 34 and she has a 5-week-old son named Xander Finn Gonzalez Wilcox. And her husband is a Spanish citizen. So he had to leave last week to go back to Spain because he's still in the process of getting his green card. So I'm right now self-quarantining at home and at her house so that I can help her with the baby care at this age. And yesterday, Xander and I took almost a 3-hour nap together. I was going to be awake, but it didn't work out that way. So really happy and really grateful for all of you that connected with Elizabeth over the years and helped me raise her. Mission trips is the other big one for me. 91 was our first, my first Milwaukee Habitat trip, the first time we went there. And I think that started me on a journey of understanding racial inequity and systemic racism in our nation that was playing out right there in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, like many of our cities, like Minneapolis, like St. Paul, was redlined, and African Americans could only buy houses within a small section of North Milwaukee. But the banks weren't loaning them money for houses, even if they had jobs. And so we learned the power of what Habitat for Humanity was doing in that community. but it really started me on a lifelong quest to understand systemic racism. So I'm grateful for that. And that led to my partnership with Kirsten Leverson to develop our partnership with Tunga congregation in Tanzania. And it was so fun last summer to go on a choir tour from the St. Paul area synod, of which 90% were members of Shepherd of the Valley or used to be at Shepherd of the Valley. And it was, I didn't think I could have a better trip, but I had a better trip. And part of it was that we were singing together, Tanzanians and Americans, or St. Paulites or Apple Valleyites or whatever, but neither one of us knew how to sing the way the other sang. So we all had to learn, and we were all on a level playing field of how to sing in our churches. The difference between Shepherd of the Valley, especially, and the choirs in Tunga. And it was so powerful when we made music together. And I tell people it was music no one ever has heard before, because it was shaped by two cultures. And so powerful. And I'm using one of our recordings in my sermon this Sunday at First Lutheran Church, because we're talking about the Lord's Prayer, and we sang Baba Yetu, which is the Lord's Prayer in Swahili. So I'm going to be using that for my sermon. And then my last, Shepherd of the Valley has a reputation that you continue to lift up. And I'll never forget the day that Alice told us that she'd gotten a call from a parent who said, where are the baseball signups? And Alice said, well, we don't have any baseball signups at Shepherd of the Valley Lutheran Church. And the caller said, oh, I know that, but I figure you guys know everything that's going on. You could probably answer that question. And she was kind of right. Calling the church, we would try to find the answer to almost any question. And Alice should have written a book before she passed away about all the weird questions that she got. The other one would be the day that Randy Haas first set foot in our church. And it was a Friday afternoon. And if you remember Randy, he had a bald head, quite a few earrings, was a bodybuilder, and a lot of tattoos. And he came in and wanted to talk to a pastor. And Alice, I was the only person still in the office. And she came back to my office and she said, Bonnie, there's a scary dude here. And I don't know what we're going to do. And so I said, okay, I came out and we met in the meeting area out in front of the office then, because he was intimidating. But Randy had been at a funeral at our church. And that day he had decided it was the day to end his life. And he was on his way. He had made a plan. And I didn't find this out till months later, but he said, I remembered that I had felt peace when I was at a funeral at Shepherd of the Valley. So I stopped in, and it changed my life. And he went on to become ordained. He's a unique, out of the box pastor person. But this church welcomed him and his parrots. Remember the parrots he would bring to church? And so thank you for the warm welcome you continue to offer to all kinds of people who need Jesus.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your stories, Bonnie. Well, this is one of my favorite pictures of you, Mary. Isn't that just fun out in the church backyard? I think that was taken. But this one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you become a pastor like in high school still or something? Or?
Yeah, I was just 12.
Yeah, and you are, wedded to this guy, but we'll hear from him in just a moment. But you have skills that go beyond preaching and teaching and all of your ministry. And it was really fun to see you do some music with Mark Ertl through the years. But share with us a little bit, just some of your memories, Mary.
Well, thank you, Randy. And it's really great to see everyone, how wonderful it is for you to put all this together. So thank you to Pastor Randy and Julie Opheim and the staff, everyone who worked to put this event together. And hello to everyone. It's great to be able to be with you, even though it is virtual. There's so many memories of the wonderful 18 years that I spent at Shepherd of the Valley. I think teaching was certainly a highlight for me, especially teaching baptism class. Later on, as I was there, I had the opportunity to do that so many times and be with those wonderful families and their children and seeing them so excited about bringing their children up in the Christian faith. It was really wonderful. And then, of course, North Shore Retreat, the Women's North Shore Retreat was something that I started when I started at Shepherd of the Valley, and that went on for many years. It became a little bit of a tradition, and so many great women and opportunities for hiking and Bible study and prayer. That was truly a highlight of getting in the car and driving up to the North Shore with those faithful women. I have to say that when I think about Shepherd of the Valley, this is going to sound strange, but I think about the narthex. And the reason I think about the narthex is because that's where the family gathered. You know, that's where we all got together and we talked to each other and we shared our stories and we listened to each other. And it was such a great way to get to know people, to listen to their stories, to be encouraged. So I think narthex is such a key component to the ministry of Shepherd of the Valley. And during the time that we were there, of course, that narthex got bigger with the expansion. So that was truly a remarkable thing. And to see that filled with people just sharing their faith on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning or any of the opportunities during the middle of the week was also such a wonderful, inspiring thing for me. And of course, I can't go without talking about Friday morning Bible study. Friday morning Bible study was something I inherited from Pastor Chris, who inherited it from someone else. So it had been going on at Shepherd of the Valley for quite some time before I took it over. But during the time that I was there, it was truly the highlight of my week when I was able to study scripture and share that insight with others. And we got together as a group and we prayed and we shared our concerns. And it was just a truly delight to walk through scripture and share that with the folks who came to Friday morning Bible study. And then, of course, the food at Friday morning Bible study. Oh my gosh, we had 3 tables of food. So we finally, at one point, we had to say, okay, we can't do that. You have to sign up for food so we don't have so much food. So that was always great and a wonderful thing. And of course, things changed over the years. Between 1997, when we came, and 2015, some of you, Pastor Bonnie just alluded to or mentioned Alice Mortensen, a true saint of the church. When we first came to Shepherd of the Valley, Alice would come to weekly staff meetings, and she would have a calendar, a paper calendar, and she would read that off, like, this is activities in this room, and this activities in this room. And I thought, wow, there's so many activities. And by the time 2015 came, we had so many activities that every room was filled and we had it all computerized. And so one day, Alice and I were, I don't remember, sitting in the staff room having lunch together, and she was working on the calendar. She was working on the calendar and she was having some kind of pasta salad, I don't remember what it was, and she was putting pepper on that. And the phone rang. And in those days, she answered the phone in the staff room. She got up and she said, hello, good morning, Shepherd of the Pepper. And that's one of the great memories I have of Alice, because she was so warm. She was so welcoming, and she really, truly was an inspiration to so many people. I miss her. Other memories, quickly, 30 seconds. Relationships with staffs and colleagues, people who cared for one another, enriched their faith life. Just wonderful to be a part of a church that really cared about community and outside of itself, getting outside of itself into the larger world. And of course, my colleagues, wonderful, wonderful colleagues, went to work loving those colleagues and really enjoying the opportunity to do ministry with them. And a shout out to Pastor Dwayne. We would always go on Taco Tuesdays and hatch some kind of scheme for another program or Bible study. Those were great Taco Tuesdays at Taco Bell, Dwayne.
Today's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
This is heartwarming. Hey, Chris, great picture of you.
Yeah.
I'll always think of you as with wearing your cardinal socks. Yeah, he's blessed by the Pope himself. One of my favorite pictures with you,
Yeah.
Chris, in Tanzania. But oh, whoops. It's time for us to hear from you. Memories of Shepherd of the Valley years, Chris.
Okay, thanks, Randy. And again, wow, what a great event. Thanks for organizing all this. And it's good to see some wonderful familiar faces on the screen. And to be reminded how much I, and I'm sure Mary, miss you all so much. Gosh, it's hard to pick. I want to name a couple of things that might not seem initially obvious. I really loved going to the hospital very early in the morning for pre-surgical pastoral visits because I always had great conversation with people, a lot of vulnerability in the room, and it felt, and you could feel the spirit at work in that room. And I suspect that a couple people on the screen today might have visited me before surgery, but it always felt like a holy event. So it's a big memory for me. Love staff. What a great staff. I have served, I'll get to this later on, a variety of other congregations since leaving Shepherd of the Valley, and there is no staff like Shepherd of the Valley staff. I'll put it that way. Generous people. We want to get something done. We people give to pay for it. It was amazing to watch that happen. I really liked, and Mary, this is reflecting on something you said, North Shore hiking retreats with the men beginning in '99 and through about 10 years after that. That was a really great experience up on the North Shore, especially worship on the rocks of Lake Superior as the waves washed up on Sunday morning was like Jesus on the Sea of Galilee. I loved the feeling after preaching the last Christmas Eve sermon, and it's midnight, and there's nobody left in the building, just reflecting in your office for a minute about the goodness of the day. That was good. And Bonnie, I remember talking to your daughter after Christmas Eve services. She would hang out until there was nobody left, and we would talk for a while. She was always a great conversation partner at that time of the evening. I'll never forget the feeling of energy from the full sanctuary. And you walk in, it's full. Let's get this party started. You know, it was a wonderful kind of experience to do that. A couple of short memories. Randy, I remember talking to you about re-entering ministry at WAPO on a men's winter retreat. Mm-hmm. A very distinct conversation in my mind. Paul, the ferrets in the sanctuary crawled up on the head of Ken Palace one Saturday night at 5 o'clock worship. That was the end when you wrote the letter.
Didn't either.
Yeah, 2 kids, copied the confirmation paper of the brother from the year before. I read both papers, had Barb Schultz schedule them on the same day and same slot, had them in my office at the same time and confronted them. They were so embarrassed. They wrote new papers. It was kind of fun to do that. It was an interesting experience to watch them sink into the floor. I also remember, Dwayne, you remember the sleepwalking kid? We had a Bible study of Crossways on a Saturday morning, and on Friday night there was a lock-in at church, and I was in the Crossways Bible study helping out with that. And this kid got up out of the Bible study and walked down the hallway, and he was sleepwalking all the way to the main office, where he sat down asleep. And we called his parents. They came and got him, and he never actually woke up until a few hours later at home. That was a big one. And then Mary, you talked about Alice. Everybody talked about Alice. Alice was a wonderful colleague in the office. One day we're going over the calendar in a full staff meeting, and she's going through it, and she says out loud, "Star Trek convention." And Mark Ertl had written Star Trek convention in the calendar, and she said it out loud as if it was actually happening at Shepherd of the Valley. You remember that, Bonnie? Yeah, it was a really funny experience for her, and she was a bit embarrassed, but she also laughed a lot. She was a great partner in ministry. When I visited her son Brian in the hospital before he had knee surgery, his daughter called him at the hospital before surgery and said, "Dad, I wrecked the car in the parking lot of Eastview High School." And Brian's on the phone negotiating with his daughter about how to get license information from the other driver when he's about to have surgery. And Alice was there, and she was such a calming presence in the room for the whole experience. Anyway, lots of great memories. I really appreciate the experience of being with you all here today. And I'm grateful, most of all, to have served with all of you and to serve you.
Thank you, Chris. God, this is just precious time here today. And Diane, oh my gosh, this is a great picture of you. Diane worked with Missions and Outreach, Tanzania Connections. This is one of the auctions at Shepherd of the Valley. And Shepherd of the Valley has had a history of pastors, when they leave, we celebrate them with songs. Dwayne used to make up those lyrics, but then we lay on hands and pray and send them out, just like we did with you, Diane. What are your memories of ministry at Shepherd of the Valley, Diane?
Oh, thanks so much for those pictures and for, it's just so fun to hear everyone's memories. I was not able to work with Alice. When I got there, it was Vicki Lading, who was also just a wonderful, just administrative person. And when I arrived, the church was absolutely bursting. There was no room for anybody. And so I was in this tiny little office that's the first office when you turn into the office. It's to the right. I think when I left there, Sean was in there. But anyway, like 10 by 10, maybe 8 by 8. And Vicki was right next to me. And so I always heard her answering phone calls, and just was so impressed with her ability to make everybody feel heard and important. And in fact, that is one of my memories of Shepherd of the Valley, was that a church so large could make everybody feel known and seen and cared for. And I just learned so much about that as a pastor, about how to care for people and connect with people. And that was just so wonderful. I think of confirmation services and interviewing all of those kids. And, I think the biggest year when I was there, we had nearly 200 students that we confirmed. And by the time confirmation rolled around, we had interviewed each one of them, and all the pastors were involved in the program. And so you got to know those kids. We still had to have them wear name tags because there's no way we could know each and every one of them. But just the awareness of, the size of the place, but then the ability to kind of bring that down and really connect with people on an individual level was just really special. I talked to a friend who had a grandchild baptized at Shepherd of the Valley before I came. I was kind of sussing it out and asking people, well, what do you know about this church? And she said, well, my grandson was baptized there, and I thought it was the weirdest thing. They had a baptism service and there were 17 babies. And I thought, there's no way this is going to be special. And she said, it was so special. We felt so connected and so cared for. So just the ability to make those connections was just precious. And of course, the ministry in Tanzania is still in my heart. Bonnie, when you talked about going on the choir trip, I was tearing up because that just sounded so wonderful. And got to do 3 trips there with Kirsten, and just those connections still last. In fact, there are people in Tanzania who now check into my YouTube sermons that I posted on Facebook, and so they follow those. And so it's just amazing how those connections continue. I remember meeting with Mary Ajax at 360 Communities now, and talking about what it would be like to have a food shelf in Apple Valley, and being a part of the dreaming process of that was really special. And having staff like Lisa Hegerman and just amazing volunteers that made that happen was one of my highlights at being at Shepherd of the Valley. So, there's so many. It's hard to even kind of distill it down. For you that have been there for many more years than I have, I don't know how you chose your stories, but it is definitely a treat and privilege that I got to serve at Shepherd of the Valley. And I'm so grateful for the support that I received as I left to go and pastor at Faith. And we still connect with Shepherd of the Valley in a lot of ways, in terms of if we need music, Mark Ertl opens up the music files for us. And Emily Feld is our music director, and she does just a beautiful job with our tiny little choir. And we know that if we need anything, we can call Shepherd. I need gluten-free wafers. It's like, I know you're there for support, and that is just a gift. So thank you for today.
Thank you, Diane. Okay, so now there's one more question that the planning team wants me to ask and give the chance for all the pastors to respond to. There is also a chat function available. If anybody has a question that they would like to type in, they can type it in. Let me see if I can get it. Type it here. So you might have gotten just a little notice just now because I just typed in a chat for everybody. But if you have a question for us to consider, hopefully we'll have 10, 15 minutes possibly for other questions that you might have, or pastors, you might have questions for one another as well. But Paul, we're coming back to you again. The question is, talk a little bit about what's been happening in your life since the years leaving your time, since leaving Shepherd of the Valley as a pastor.
Got it. I just want to back up for a minute and echo what Chris said there. Just hearing all of you talk, it was an amazing staff. It still is. That's been one of the greatest blessings of my life, to work with such fantastic people over the years at that church, and that tradition continues. We mentioned Alice several times. I have to mention Chris Ireland. Some of you may not know this, but in the very earliest days of the church, Chris Ireland came in my office one day and said, "I want to volunteer for the church." I said, "That's wonderful. I think in 2-3 hours a week." She said, "No, I want to volunteer full time." And I thought, what in the world am I going to do with this woman full time? It took about 2 days before we figured out how priceless she was in terms of my ministry. We worked together for, I think, 11 or 12 years, and she did so much for this church. I have to say that. It had organizational skills that were amazing, and the ability to recruit volunteers. Things I've done since retiring, I actually become pastor emeritus. I had an opportunity for 3 years to serve as the interim campus pastor at Luther Seminary. And that was just so much fun to work with these young seminarians who were preparing for parish ministry. That was just a marvelous way to kind of round out some of my retirement years. I think of the choir trip just a couple of years ago with Mark Ertl to Iceland, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. And of course, to sing with that fantastic choir at Shepherd of the Valley. It was just really a highlight. We've had since I retired, 3 grandchildren, Hattie, Alden, and Elias, and they have added great joy to our lives. Something we're doing right now, Pastor Dwayne and Roger Eichenfeld and I are writing a book. We have no idea if we'll sell 4 copies or 400. But I'm going to have Dwayne talk more about this, but it's just been so much fun here to reflect on years of ministry and things that we've learned. It's 18 chapters, and Dwayne, you can talk more about this in a minute, but it's been a great, just to remember and reflect and think about all these great years that we've had at Shepherd, and putting it together in some kind of book form. I would say that I have become more politically active, in fact, much more so since retirement. We are all dealing with a pandemic, and I mentioned Margaret, who has been incredibly supportive of my ministry over the years, more than I could ever say. And she is at the moment doing well. Symptoms are pretty mild, and we're watching and waiting, and your prayers, of course, are appreciated. We both took the saliva test, and she came up positive and I came up negative. And I'd been kissing her 4 days earlier, so go figure. I have no idea how. This is the strangest disease. She has no idea where she picked it up, but we're hoping that for all who are afflicted in any way. Something else I might just talk about. It's interesting when you reach obviously 70 and a half or now 72, all of us are dealing with what RMD money, required minimum distribution. And I don't want this to sound too sappy, but believe it or not, you are encouraged to give away money as a way to benefit yourself in terms of tax requirements. But we've had kind of a lot of fun thinking about that, and probably being in some ways, this is going to sound self-serving, but probably more generous than we have been in a very, very long time. It's just a great place to be in life. Thank God for all of that. I've been reading more books and magazines and newspapers. I find myself reading them cover to cover, which I could never do when I was in the parish. It just didn't seem to be enough time for that. So we're doing well. We have been very blessed. We thank God for every good day. And again, we thank all of you for these marvelous relationships that we have had and developed over the years through Shepherd of the Valley. That's what makes life worth the living. So again, thank you all. And thanks to all of you who put this thing together today as well.
Very cool. Thank you, Paul. Dwayne, fill us in. Yeah, you have not been gone from Shepherd of the Valley very long, so you might not have much to say.
Well, you know, I was just counting up the number of months that we've been in the pandemic is more than the months from my retirement to the pandemic, because I retired last July. So we've had more months in the pandemic. But I just wanted to pick up on a number of you mentioned baptism classes as good memories. And I remember one particular, every year we would have a baptism class for youth that had not been baptized, kids or youth, and adults who had not been baptized. And that was always because I think a lot of people didn't feel like they wanted to necessarily come to a baptism class when there's a bunch of babies there, you know, if you're an adult. And so we had that class, and I think maybe you still do, right, Randy? Every once in a while,
Yes.
but
Well, not lately.
oh, okay. Well,
But
anyway,
that's the COVID stuff.
This one year, you know, we usually had, you know, 8 to 12 people in the class, but this one year we started the class and we opened the doors and people just kept coming. We were overflowing the room. I think we had to go to a different room. We ended up having 29 people in that class, and we had a baptism during a Lenten service of all 29 of those people. They were youth and adults. We took a picture of it, and it was in the St. Paul Area Synod publication. Bonnie, you were in that too. I think you were part of that as well. Anyway, what I've been doing is kind of, well, staying home for 9 months here, kind of. But no, Phyllis and I have been a little bit more active than that. I played a lot of golf. I was glad to see when the pandemic hit that they opened up golf rather quickly. And I play probably 2 times a week. Phyllis plays a lot of pickleball, and I play pickleball with her as well. And as Paul said, I'm writing this book, or we're writing this book together. Roger Eigenfeld, who was the senior pastor at St. Andrew's, a Lutheran church up in Montemita. I worked with him for 13 years, and Paul, who I worked with for probably 20 years or so. And we've decided to put a book together called Behind the Pulpit, sort of some stories and some reflections on the ministry, primarily from Roger and Paul. And I just add up some inserts here and there. I'm more of an editor, you might say, of it, but it's been just a blast to put that together. Maybe we'll have to do something like that with all of us pastors as a sequel or something. The other thing that Phyllis and I are doing in retirement here, by the way, I think I retired at exactly the right time. I mean, I don't know how you do it, Randy, and the others who are on staff during this pandemic. It must be very difficult to kind of change, and Bonnie and Diane, you're all working, and Chris too. Must be very difficult to kind of figure out what to do and how to do it these days. But I think I retired at the sweet spot time. I mean, I got in my ministry and then retired just before the pandemic. One other thing though that Phyllis and I are doing, I just wanted to mention, is we are doing some stuff with our grandkids. We're in the bubble with 2 of our grandkids that live just down half a mile away here. And so because they're on hybrid learning, we help out 2 days a week with them. And Phyllis is the teacher and I am the teacher's aide. And that's been a lot of fun to do it with them. They're 5 and 7 years old. So it's just a sweet spot time with them as well. So that's what I'm up to these days.
Perfect. Thank you, Dwayne. We're gonna continue. Mary is next, followed by Chris. Where did Mary go? Is she?
Yep. When I left in
you go.
2015, yep, I'm on now. when I left in 2015, I had the opportunity then to go and spend some quality time with my mom before she passed away. So I put a lot of miles on the car, driving back and forth to Wisconsin almost every other week for 3 or 4 days at a time. And then after she passed in 2017, then I had opportunity to work with my brothers, and we renovated the house and then sold the house that I grew up in. So that was a lot of time on the road and a lot of time with family, and it was a good thing to do for my family. So in the last 3 or 4 years here, I've been studying German at the Germanic American Institute in St. Paul. I really enjoy that. It's something I started many years ago when I was in high school, and it's been coming in pretty handy because my family has their ancestry, of course, in Germany. And more than that, in 2018, Chris and I had the opportunity to go to Berlin and meet with some of the folks who are also helping out with Friends of Haruma, which Chris will probably say more about in a minute. So the German came in handy when we headed to Berlin in 2018. So I continue to do that. We study every week, and I'm enjoying that opportunity. I read a lot, books. I've been reading more than I've ever had the time. Like Pastor Paul said, I can read through a whole magazine, and it's just really wonderful to be able to do that from cover to cover. In terms of other time I've been spending with my family, our kids are both grown, of course. Joy got married in August. It wasn't the wedding she was hoping for. It was a small, wonderful outdoor event. Thank you, Pastor Dwayne, for officiating. And with about 25 or fewer people outside. She's waiting to have her church wedding at Shepherd of the Valley in June of 2021. Even though they're married, they want their church wedding and their reception in Minneapolis. So we are hoping and praying for the end of a pandemic so we can celebrate again with family and friends in June. That's on the radar right now. Both of our children are currently living in the Twin Cities, which is really a blessing. We don't believe they'll continue to stay here in the Twin Cities, but we're grateful that Joy and Eric are living in St. Paul. Joy is in grad school at working on her doctorate in occupational therapy, and Eric is in the business school at Carlson School of Management at the U. And Miles, our son, is living in St. Anthony, and he is working on his doctorate in molecular biology and gene therapy. He works on helping with gene therapies for children who have rare and unusual diseases. And so he's finished with his oral and written doctoral exams, and he's just now heading to writing his articles and then his dissertation. So I get to see my kids whenever they're available. And it's just really a blessing to be able to do that, or to visit on the phone with my brother, or go to see my brother. So I've been spending a lot of time dabbling in a little bit of genealogy with my family, and with my dad's pictures from World War II.
Perfect. Thank you, Mary. Boy, life has been full. And Chris has been nonstop as well since leaving Shepherd of the Valley. Fill us in, Chris.
Randy, I really should say what she said again, because I can delete all the family stuff. Although I can do this, Mary. I can bring this picture up, and then I can share my screen with you all for one moment. If I can find, here it is. There it is, Dwayne, officiating, and Joy and Eric on a farm field at the wedding. So I'll stop sharing that.
Nice.
But I have been really busy with Friends of Haruma. Before I talk about that, I guess I've served 4 different congregations as an interim senior pastor since leaving Shepherd of the Valley. And they're large churches in Coon Rapids, Faribault, Shoreview, and in Woodbury. And been a great thing to do. Learned a lot of ministry by doing that, but also I think in a in some ways been able to help congregations to work better through times of transition. It's a great experience to do that. Since I was at Shepherd of the Valley, my mother died in 2016. My dad is now 91 years old. He had a bit of a scare last summer, so I go up there fairly frequently. My siblings and I, we take turns going up there to my dad's house near St. John's University. He still lives by himself on a lake near Avon at 91. So a pretty tough character. In 2016, in November 16, Peter Harritz and Kirsten Leverson and the bishop asked me to start thinking about how to serve the children's home in Iringa, Tanzania, called the Huruma Center. And I think some of you on the screen have been there, if I'm not mistaken. One more picture to show you guys for sure. There they are. That's a group shot from 2019. I've been there 3 times since founding Friends of Huruma. And it's been a great experience to do that, to run that nonprofit affiliate with Bega Kwa Bega. And been just this morning in Tanzania, the bishop dedicated and blessed a new well, solar array, and pump and distribution system for the water at the Huruma Center. Expanded it so that we can, and this next year we're going to expand services and build a new building to serve children, homeless kids ages 0 to 5.
Wow.
So it's going to be an interesting year coming up. So that's been a big part of my work. If you look back on my right shoulder here, you can see the mess behind me here. That's Friends of Huruma, which is pretty much always a mess because I'm always catching up with myself doing that. What else is going on? I have loved being able to take time out between interim ministries to work on Friends of Huruma. Traveling to East Africa always feels like a wonderful journey into a new experience every time. I know Bonnie and Diane and Randy, you can all relate to that very much so. It's just a great place to go and to learn how to live in a blessed way. So I'm grateful to have that experience. I've been grateful to have more time with Mary since I left. It's been, Shepherd of the Valley, as Paul, you remember, just a couple hours a week of work. And the thing is that she was, but here's the thing, being blessed by having her in the office next to mine for all those years was a great way to work. And I've always been grateful that we were able to work together and to live together and make it all work together. Margaret, the same experience by having been leading the preschool at the same time as Paul was serving the church. A blessing to be able to work together and to live together and to make it all work together is a great blessing. So yeah, it's been a good experience in the 5+ years since I left Shepherd of the Valley, and I'm grateful to God for what's been happening.
Thanks so much, Chris, for filling us in a little bit of the picture. And Bonnie has been busy at a couple different congregations since she left Shepherd of the Valley. And
But first, the grandchild.
Yay!
Beautiful.
This is me not sleeping with Xander. Yeah.
I
can't
love the
tell you.
outfit.
Thank you. Yeah. All kinds
Great.
of animals. Yeah. Elizabeth was going to live in Spain. 2 years ago, she announced that she was going to stay living in Spain. And I had to go through a mourning process of, okay, this isn't what I imagined life would look like. But I could do it. It would work. I got resources. I can go to Spain. She'll come home. And then she and Jorge decided after they got married that they wanted to make home here because they wanted to have a family, and they wanted it to be a family raised with the help of people here. So I'm really grateful that they're living in Rosemont, and she works for a company that's a vendor to Target. So she works from home, and Jorge, when he comes back in January, will be probably the stay-at-home dad, for which he will be wonderful. Yeah. So thinking about where I've been, so leaving Shepherd of the Valley, I saw God call me from a place of generosity and possibility to a place that needed generosity and possibility. So I went to Gustavus Adolphus on the east side of St. Paul, a grand, lovely facility, very underused. everybody moved out and moved away from the home church. And what Shepherd of the Valley taught me was to think about possibilities. Paul, you blessed us with that. You gave us the freedom to say, try this, try that. And sometimes we tell you after we tried it. And, and I'm really grateful for that. But I was called to a place that needed to see the Holy Spirit's possibility at work again. And that's where God has called me to be, in those first ring suburbs or urban congregations where life seems to have, the good old days have passed by. And they, like when I came to one of those congregations, it was like, well, we knew this was the best we could do. A woman, senior pastor. And I've heard that more than once, that this is the best we can do now. And then they usually come back and apologize because it's gone well. It's gone well. The possibilities and the generosity of Shepherd of the Valley carries with me to all those places. Idea of mission carries to those places. So at First Lutheran right now, in the midst of COVID, we were doing a Sunday community meal every week where people came in the fellowship hall, and we had 15 to 20% of the people who came were from the community. They didn't come from church, but they came and joined us. And what they said to us was, how wonderful to receive a gift of a meal, but not to feel like we were the poor ones getting served by others. So this idea that we were eating with them was really important. When COVID hit, we were talking about, well, we need to shut down. And our chief cook said, we got to keep feeding people. And we knew that we had seniors who were vulnerable and lonely. And we also had community people who needed the food support. So every single Sunday since we shut down in March, we have provided a curbside meal that people drive up and receive. And we serve about 150 meals a week. And we throw in some other things. So first Sunday of the month, we have curbside communion. And often we have live music playing in the center of the parking lot. We've got cones for a path. And we have found out how important it is that people need that contact. So as a COVID pastor, I've had face-to-face contact with people every week, which has been such a gift. We're all wearing masks. We're keeping our distance all through a car window. But we pray with people who want to be prayed with. We laugh and tell stories. And it's been wonderful as a pastor to continue to have some face-to-face contact with at least a portion of the congregation. And we're going to do an Advent wreath kit distribution. And this Sunday, we're going to collect money for the giving tree, which, normally you'd go into the Commons or the narthex and pick up a name from the tree, and you'd fill out a card, give a gift card, and it would help our homeless teens or our low-income teens in the community. Well, nobody's in the Commons or the narthex. So we're going to say to everybody who brings a gift in any amount on Sunday, you get a pie. A pumpkin pie, an apple pie. And my staff, who I've been with for 3 years now, they'll say, no, you mean a piece of pie. I'm like, no, we're going to be generous and give them the whole pie. It's so much easier. And it's, and then somebody said, well, what about people who can't use a whole pie? Who is that? Who doesn't want a whole pie? So that's what Shepherd of the Valley helped me do. Spread possibility and generosity. The downside of COVID for me is I can't read. That has not stopped me from buying books. Okay, that does not stop me from buying books. But the ability to concentrate when almost every day we are rethinking how we do ministry for a changing world and a changing pandemic has been hard. And my concentration to actually read a book, gone. My favorite hymn, Judy Anderson asked, "Let streams of living justice." That's my new favorite hymn. It's to the tune of a piece called Jupiter. If it doesn't stir your soul, nothing can. Thank you.
Very fun. Diane, fill us in. You've been busy as well the last years over at Faith Lutheran.
Yes, I have. So Pastor Paul was the interim at Faith Lutheran for almost a year. And that was kind of my introduction to this little church that I barely knew existed. The only reason I knew existed was because we would go up and down Cedar Avenue when we took kids to baseball in Lakeville. And it was like, oh, there's that little church there. I don't know anything about it. But Faith has been just a wonderful place to be. One of our elder members said soon after I got there, well, Pastor Paul was the spark plug and you're the engine. And so it has been fun to continue in ministry there. It's been a struggle. It's a little church that doesn't have the resources that a place like Shepherd has. And so it's, you know, we've had to kind of struggle along, but it has also been a faith building experience, and it is such a lovely little community. I invite you to come and visit us sometime. Well, you can visit us online right now. And I am so, again, grateful to Shepherd of the Valley for the support that I've had while I've been there, and the support I had moving from Shepherd of the Valley to this other church in the community. So let's see, what else? When we came to Shepherd of the Valley, Luke, my youngest, was a preschooler, 4 years old, and he's a senior this year. And he's, you know, got his first car, and he's getting ready to go to college. He's looking at Augsburg and Gustavus, and we'll see where he ends up. It's a lot of fun. He's a hilarious kid. And so just you know, there's still a lot to see. I mean, I hear about you guys with your kids that have grown. It's like, I can't wait to see where he goes and what he does. Micah, my oldest, soon after we left Shepherd of the Valley, he had a mental health crisis, and he has become quite disabled. And I am his primary caregiver. So my work at Faith is part-time, and then that allows me the time to be present and available to be with Micah if he needs support for appointments and that kind of thing. And so we are hopeful. He's 20, and he has bipolar disorder. And a lot of times with that, when people kind of get into their young 20s, they kind of, you know, move into a new way of being. And we're kind of hoping that he'll be able to get into a new way of being where he'll be able to function a little better. So we will see about that. It's been very difficult, but also amazing to see God work in lots of different ways through him and through the community. And so let's see what else. I've really appreciated the opportunity to be in a pastor's prayer group on Wednesday mornings, and Randy and Wendy are in that group. So I still connect to Shepherd of the Valley through them. And as I said earlier, Emily Feld is our music director, and she blesses us with new compositions, and just her gentle joy and her presence are just a huge gift to Faith Lutheran Church. So thank you for the connection here today. It's just, again, so wonderful to see your faces and to remember the things that we've done together and the ministry that continues. Thanks.
So thank you so much, Diane. I really appreciate connecting with you too. This is not about me, but I am the MC. So here is my memory of the very first pastors meeting when I joined staff in middle of August of 2002. So we pastors got together in the community room, which is no longer, and it's now partly Julie Opheim's office, and came in there, sat around the table, and it's like, okay, what's this going to be like? You know, how are things run? What is the relationships like? Well, it went through all kinds of business of pastoral care and congregational care and visits, and who's in the hospital, and what's the worship coming up, and what kind of programs are going on. And, you know, Dwayne was talking, and Mary and Chris and Bonnie's on staff, and Paul is there. And at the end of the meeting, I'm thinking, who is in charge there anyway? In one sense, there was such a unity of respect and shared responsibilities you could almost not tell who was in charge of the whole thing. It was a group of shared responsibilities and ministries mutually supporting one another. And I walked out thinking, oh my gosh, this is a round table of the knights in shining armor. Wait, is that masculine? Anyway, so anyway, let's have a few quick responses. And I have a few questions that I wrote down too, in case we don't have enough, but could limit your answers to like 30 seconds really quick. But I'm really interested in your question, Bonnie, because this COVID thing is getting worse and even heavier. And I've been in a few groups where there is a different emotional, expectation with, especially with holidays coming up. What is holding you up during this time of COVID now? Can a few you pastors respond a little bit for everybody?
You want us to go in order?
This is anybody. Everybody does not have to. So if it's only 1 or 3 responses, whoever.
I've really appreciated the ministry of the church. I don't worshiping online is not preferable, but it works. And I think the staff has done a wonderful job struggling with a very difficult issue, obviously. I think family and friends, even though we're not seeing each other face to face, but communicating in other ways. And of course, faith. I mean, God is always in the mix, and we'll get through this, but it's a deep and dark valley right now. It really is.
One thing for me is Zoom calls with family and friends, and we've had 2 now with the extended family, which means 12 households or more on a Zoom call with a whole bunch of kids under the age of 14 who like to kind of see what's going on and comment. And so at the end of it, I'm exhausted. It's total chaos, and my heart is overflowing, just overflowing. My almost 4-year-old great nephew calls the baby Xandor. Kids see that it's just them and the person they want to talk to. So the other night he was just, I want to see Xandor. Where is Xandor? So family Zooms and friend Zooms have been really important to me. And the collaboration that my church staff now has is as close to Shepherd of the Valley as I've had since I left.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Other pastors, your response, how do you hold up and keep going during this COVID time?
I think you're looking at her right there on the screen, Mary.
Yay.
Very important. Family, friends, and community. We love connecting with other people. I've been baking a lot. Mary can testify to that. And we bring cookies to my kids. So if any of you want some cookies, let me know, because the jar and the fridge are overflowing. I make gluten-free, whatever. So Bonnie, want some cookies?
I have to say, it's like the Great British Baking Show at the Lund Smith home.
Ooh.
Anyway, so yeah,
Yes.
baking and sharing cookies with people is a way to show community. So yeah.
Very cool. Anybody else in that question?
I've been doing a ton of reading. I love to read, and I have kind of lost myself in books, and so knitting and also family and friend Zooms just fill my heart. Those are just a wonderful way to stay connected.
But
For us, it's been.
I cannot do is I need to turn off the news and social media more. It's such an angst and immediacy of heavy news that distancing and kind of keeping that in perspective has helped me. Anybody else? I was interrupting somebody.
Just one of the things that's been kind of a blessing is we live in this age of technology where we can do this kind of thing right now, and that's been really a blessing, I think, coming out of this. And so, for instance, every night we have a new granddaughter who was born last November out in Seattle to Adam and Marion, and every night they've been Zooming with us, essentially. And we get to see her change every single day. So, you know, those kinds of things are just great. And Zooming with other people has been fabulous.
Let's see. How about some quick questions? Hey, Pastor Paul, where is that electric typewriter? Did you bring it home?
Uh, no, it's Mary Casey. You'll be happy to know I finally got it's a boat anchor. That's what it is right now. But by the way, noticing people on the Zooming all over the country and all these experts talking about, I've seen a couple of typewriters in their offices. I've been amazed. You know, everything is Zoomed but even some of these big newscasters and anchors and reporters, I've seen 2 typewriters in their offices. I was flabbergasted.
Hey, Bonnie, can you give everybody, you told a little bit about Randy Haas, and can you give a little bit of an update? Oh, Mike, check your mic.
Sorry. He's living in Eastern Washington State. He's on leave from call, continues to have some heart issues, but you know, loves the climate out there, wishes he could handle the climate in Minnesota, but he can't anymore.
Yeah, I see that Chris Smith also added a little piece there.
And Deb Stalen, I say hi to everybody from Deb Stalen as well.
Oh,
she asked me to pass along greetings.
There are other pastors from Shepherd of the Valley who could easily be a part of this. So I have a couple pieces that I wrote down here. So any quick responses to this question? If you had one more day to work as a pastor at Shepherd of the Valley, what is one thing you would want to do as a part of your work on that one day in ministry back at Shepherd of the Valley?
Relationship retreat with 9th graders to talk about human sexuality.
Oh, right, Bonnie.
They need it. They need it. And it gave me great joy.
I was at some of those retreats with you. Yep. Oh my gosh.
I think I'd throw a party, Randy.
You would throw a party.
Yeah, throw a party and invite the staff to come and anybody else and just say thank you to everybody.
Yep. This would be non-pandemic.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. Post-pandemic.
Others, Mary, what would you do in your one day?
Friday morning Bible study. Yeah, Friday morning Bible study. Everybody gathered together and lots of food and singing and praying.
Sweet. Paul, what would you do?
I'd like it either to be a Christmas Eve day or an Easter Sunday day. I would go home so high, it was like I was on a drug. I was physically exhausted and emotionally and spiritually on cloud 9. It's hard to describe.
And then for the next 3 days, you were in recovery, right? From
in a body bag the next day.
Wayne.
I think what I'd like to do is just sit down and visit one-on-one with people. One of the things that struck me a couple of weeks ago when there was All Saints weekend, and we had all of these saints listed who have died in the last year since I've left. And it's like, wow, I mean, lots of fabulous people. And, you kind of go, I'm never going to be able to talk to that person again.
Wow. And Diane?
Maybe confirmation services. Those days were always just so full of joy and just really fun culmination of a lot of time with those kids, and loved it.
Very cool. Okay, because of time, and I'm going to give just like a minute when we're done for anybody to open up their mics and just shout out or talk all at once if you want to different people, but to give some acknowledgments and thank you or a greeting if you want to. A few pieces though. This is really important to be connected as community, and with Thanksgiving coming up, I know a lot of us would be at Shepherd of the Valley worshiping on Thanksgiving Eve. There will be a devotional reflection that will be sent out and made available at Shepherd of the Valley. So watch for that. And there will be a recently recorded choral piece. So It's a surprise and secret. Don't tell anybody, but the choir has been working on this until we just closed down Shepherd of the Valley again because of pandemic concerns. But also there are some pieces with Advent coming up, and also wreaths and some different things that we are continuing to offer and try to work nimbly on making some different opportunities. Looks like we will be putting together a mid-December seniors OK's purposeful retirement midday Zoom experience that will be reminiscent of the old Christmas, luncheon and things, without the lunch and without everybody being together. But anyway, we're working on some of those pieces. Gal, I don't know. There's always all kinds of announcements, and you don't need more announcements from me. But maybe let's have a short prayer for one another, our families, our friends, our whole community, and our communities of faith. Let us pray. We are a grateful people, oh God, in this time when we have a national holiday of Thanksgiving. May our hearts always be filled to overflowing for the many mercies and ways that you express and reveal to us your loving kindness, your compassion and grace for us and for all people. So we ask, oh God, for that blessing being able to be experienced through protection from pandemic, for the gift of health for ourselves, for the gift of recovery and healing for those who are not well in our families. Help us to make the hard decisions, but the good decisions to protect ourselves and others, and be with us, whatever our faith communities are, for us as pastors and previous pastors, but for Shepherd of the Valley. We look to you, O God, our Lord and our Savior, in whom we trust and pray these things, and so many more. In the name of Christ, we pray, saying,
Amen.
Amen.
So deep gratitude for all those people behind the scenes who planned this long ago, started putting this together, and for Julie, for some of the staff help and support. But right now, you have permission to unmute and do a shout out, whatever you want, to Bonnie and Mary and Chris and Pastor Paul and Margaret. This is your chance if you want to any rebuttals for anything that Paul said. Anyway, I say thank you, and the Lord's peace be with you. So great to see so many. Oh my God.
And Randy, just let me add, thanks to Dean Grochon and Phyllis Patesnick and the Purposeful Retirement Group for setting this up.
Yeah, they were some key people. Phyllis, you're the quiet one behind the scenes who really pulls the strings on that guy, aren't you?
You got that right.
Okay, I got it. Oh gosh, Kunow, so great to see you guys. The Rawsons. And,
We missed the Sunday breakfast with unlimited bacon.
And the baconometer.
Yeah, big
Congratulations on becoming a grandma, Bonnie. We are so happy for you.
Yeah.
Give
you,
Elizabeth
Sue.
our love.
I will. Maybe you'll see her in Rosemont one of these days.
you know,
Would love
that's going to be one of the most beautiful babies. Oh my gracious.
Beautiful.
Hey, good to see the Larsons here. Hi, Sam Hiding's here. Gosh, so many good people.
Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Stay healthy, everybody.
Bye.
Well,
This is
really
wonderful.
Hope to see everybody again in the coming days, weeks.
That's good enough.
The sooner the better in person.
Yeah.
bye.
Who's the Millis family?
Bye.
Hey, Baronwalds. Good to see you guys here today.
This has been a wonderful
A wonderful hour and a half. Thanks to everybody from the Swigums.
Hey, Paula.
Hey, Paula.
Yeah.
Hey, Lynn McLean, you're looking good. You got hair coming in.
Hair's coming in, yeah.
Oh my gosh, it is really fun to see you. You're still in our prayers and everything.
Next to Linda.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
This is those people I've seen for a long time. This is great.
Yeah,
Happy
fun.
Thanksgiving.
Bill, how you doing?
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks from Skip and Becky Nelson.
Oh, hi, Nelson.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Nelsons.
Yep, thank you. This was awesome.
Hey, Kathy. Okay.
That's what's changing.
Dwayne, I think your sister just logged off there.
Good log off.
Well, there's
Hi to
Mike.
Klingabeels. Our first Habitat trip, 91. Woohoo!
oh my gosh, they were with you.
Yes.
Oh my gracious, that's a great heritage history of
We've-
service. So fun.
Thanks to everybody from J&N. It's great to see everybody. We
Hey,
miss you
are
all.
you guys in Minnesota? Or are you down in Arizona, Jay?
We're in Arizona.
Oh, I wish I was. Well, no, I wouldn't be with you. I'd be in the casita.
We, in fact, played pickleball this morning, Phyllis.
Oh,
So much. It's pretty cold here. We're not playing outside anymore.
It's going to be 70 on Friday, Phyllis. You can go back out.
70 here?
Yeah.
no, it is not. Oh my God.
Possibilities. Possibilities.
You're thinking positive.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, Mary Jeltsin, it's great to see you. How you doing well?
We're doing fine. We're doing
Perfect.
Yeah.
Continually thinking about a lot of different folks with prayers and health and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Randy.
Logging off because I'm supposed to be in another meeting now. So you guys talk as long as you want, but you're all in my prayers. I hold you in Christ's mercy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Randy.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, can you handle a little humor? Do you know why old people don't eat organic foods? It's
I don't
because
know why.
we need all the preservatives we can get.
Oh,
That's a good one.
great one, Pastor Paul.
Yeah.
Great to see you all. Yeah.
Everybody.
Hi, Sandy. Steve doing?
Wonderful seeing everyone.
Thanks to everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah.
Happy
Thanksgiving. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
And Baron Walds, I'm sorry, there's no lutefisk dinner at First Lutheran this year.
Aw.
We seriously talked about curbside and we all went, lutefisk, curbside?
Had an easy one to warm up.
Yeah, we'll try again next year.
Bill would have been there. He would have been there.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been making it lately, so
Oh,
I bring it to my dad. He's over at
oh.
Martin Luther. He loves it. It turns out well.
How often are you making lutefisk, Phil?
I've done it in the last month, probably 3 times.
Wow, impressive.
What's your source?
I down at I go down to Ingebrigtsen's.
Oh, the Holy Land.
Yeah.
Holy Land. That's pretty close to the Floyd thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're open.
Yep.
Yep. They're open
The
again.
Target in that neighborhood opened last week.
Yeah, reopened.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Can you imagine if all the lutefisk had caught fire? Oh, man,
Tragedy
that would have been a tragedy.
for some people, not
Yeah, for only a few. Only a few.
The smell would have cleared the neighborhood out.
Hey, Chap and Susan, we were down and got another key lime pie the other day from Dan. He has a bistro down on 38th and really good pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
38th
like,
and what?
just off Cedar.
Really?
Yeah, about 3 blocks east of Cedar. It's called the Key Lime. It's called the Key West.
Key West Bistro.
Key West.
Really? Oh,
Thank you.
good.
It's just a couple blocks north of Roosevelt High School.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was where I went to high school.
Hmm.
And it is the best key lime pie I've ever had.
Good, really good. Really good.
Key West
Yeah.
Bistro. We have to
Oh.
visit. That's
Check that out.
one of their sons, someone's. Okay. Bye.
Yep.
It's such a joy to see all of you.
Bye.
It is
Kathy.
fun seeing
Hi,
all of
Eric.
you.
Hello, goodbye.
All right.
See you all. Happy Thanksgiving.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thinking.
Bye-bye.
Whatever it looks like.
Bye.
Whatever it looks
Leave.
like.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.